Welcome fam! Before we dive into the story, please kindly subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share your thoughts below. The drip started 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of plink, plink, plink echoing through my morning coffee ritual. 3 weeks of David dismissing it with a wave of his hand and a muttered, "It's not urgent, Sarah." 3 weeks of me standing in my kitchen at 6 a.m., watching that single drop form, hang suspended for a moment like it's gathering courage, then fall into the growing rust stain below. I used to think our marriage was like that sink, functional, reliable, serving its purpose. Now I realize we've both been ignoring the slow leak for years. Mom, have you seen my chemistry textbook? Emma's voice carries that particular teenage exasperation that suggests this crisis is somehow my fault. She's 17, beautiful in that unconscious way that makes me remember what it felt like to move through the world assuming someone was always watching, always interested. Kitchen counter. I call back, not looking up from my coffee. Black, no sugar. David says it's too bitter that way, but I've learned to appreciate bitter things. They're honest. Emma sweeps through the kitchen like a small tornado, grabbing her book, her backpack, a piece of toast she'll probably throw away in the car. She pauses at the door, and for a moment, I think she might actually look at me, might see the woman who used to paint sunrises and dream of gallery openings. Tell Dad I need money for the field trip, she says instead, and she's gone. David appears 10 minutes later, already checking his phone. He's 52 and still handsome in that safe, suburban way that looks good at company picnics and parent-teacher conferences. Salt and pepper hair, expensive cologne, the kind of man who inspires trust in clients and absolute boredom in wives. The Henderson account is finally ready to close, he says, scrolling through emails. Should be a good commission. I want to tell him about the dream I had last night, about standing in a field of sunflowers so tall I couldn't see the horizon. Instead, I point to the sink. It's getting worse. He glances up briefly, the way you might look at a barking dog. Acknowledgement without real attention. I'll call someone next week. Today's packed with meetings. The drip chooses that moment to become a steady stream, water pooling on the counter, seeping into the cabinet below. I grab a towel, pressing it against the leak, and something inside me breaks along with the pipe. Don't worry about it, I hear myself saying, my voice steady despite the chaos. I'll handle it. David nods, already moving toward the door. Thanks, hon, you're the best. The silence after he leaves feels different today. Not the comfortable quiet of routine, but the hollow echo of a house where no one really listens. I stand there with the towel in my hands, watching water destroy the cabinet where I used to keep my art supplies, and I realize I can't remember the last time someone asked me what I wanted. I call the first handyman service I find online. The woman who answers has a kind voice, the kind that makes you want to confess things you've never said aloud. How soon can someone come? I ask. I have Marcus available this afternoon. He's very good with difficult repairs. Something in her tone makes me wonder if she's talking about more than plumbing. But I schedule the appointment anyway because what choice do I have? Some things can't be ignored forever. The morning stretches ahead of me like an empty canvas. I used to love empty canvases. Now they just remind me of all the paintings I never finished, all the dreams I let leak away one drop at a time. I spend the next few hours cleaning up water damage, moving things that haven't been touched in years. Behind the cleaning supplies, I find a small watercolor set I bought for myself 3 Christmases ago. The paints are probably dried up, but I set them on the counter anyway, next to the broken sink. Maybe it's time to stop ignoring the things that need fixing. Marcus arrives at 2:30, and nothing about him matches what I expected. He's younger than me, maybe late 20s, with work rough in hands and eyes that actually focus when he looks at you. Not the quick, dismissive glance I've grown used to, but real attention. "You must be Sarah," he says, and the way he says my name makes me remember it's mine. "I'm Marcus. Let's see what we're dealing with." He kneels beside the sink, running his hands along the pipes with a kind of gentle confidence that makes you trust someone immediately. I hover nearby, suddenly aware that I'm wearing my good jeans and the sweater that brings out my eyes. When did I change clothes? "This has been going on for a while," he says, not accusingly, just observing. 3 weeks. My husband kept saying it wasn't urgent. Marcus glances up at me, and something passes between us. A shared understanding of what it means to have your concerns dismissed. Small problems become big problems when they're ignored. He could be talking about anything. "I'll need to replace the whole assembly," he continues, standing up. "But I brought coffee." He pulls a thermos from his tool bag, along with 2 paper cups. I find these conversations go better with caffeine. I can't remember the last time someone brought me coffee. "You don't have to." Black, right? "You look like someone who doesn't need things sweet." How does he know that? I take the cup he offers, and when our fingers brush, I feel something I'd forgotten existed. That little electric moment of connection between 2 people who see each other. "You paint," he says, nodding toward the watercolor set on the counter. "I used to." The words come out smaller than I intended. "What stopped you?" Such a simple question. Why does it feel impossible to answer? Life, I guess. Time. Priorities. Marcus starts working on the pipes, but he keeps talking. "I'm a photographer. Well, I try to be, between fixing people's sinks and unclogging their drains." He laughs, but there's no bitterness in it. "My mom thinks I'm wasting my potential. Says I should take over my uncle's construction business. Be practical." "What do you photograph?" "Everything. People mostly, but also empty spaces, abandoned buildings, forgotten places. I'm fascinated by the stories that get left behind. I think about my paintings gathering dust in the closet upstairs. Sometimes I wonder if the stories we abandon are the ones that matter most." He stops working and looks at me directly. "You should start painting again." I wouldn't know where to begin. "You begin where you are, with what you have." He gestures around the kitchen. "This light, for instance, the way it hits the wall behind you right now, that's art waiting to happen." I turn to look, and he's right. Late afternoon sun streams through the window, casting patterns on the white wall that shift and dance like something alive. How many years have I stood in this kitchen without seeing it? "I've been thinking about taking a trip," Marcus says as he works. "Europe, maybe. Document the architecture, the way different cultures interpret light and space." That sounds amazing. I mean it. When did I stop meaning the things I say? "What about you? If you could go anywhere, do anything?" The question hangs between us like a challenge. I want to tell him about the art school acceptance letter I kept hidden in my jewelry box for 3 months before throwing it away. About the gallery opening I've imagined 1,000 times, standing next to my work while strangers discover something beautiful I created. Instead, I say, I've always wanted to see the sunrise over the Mediterranean. "Specific," he says, smiling. I like specific dreams. We talk for another hour while he works, and I find myself saying things I haven't said in years. About books I've read, places I've dreamed of visiting, the way certain songs make me feel like I'm 17 again. Marcus listens the way David used to, back when we were dating, like my thoughts matter, like I'm worth the effort of attention. When he finishes the repair, testing the faucet with the satisfaction of someone who takes pride in his work, I feel something close to disappointment. The afternoon has passed too quickly. That should hold, he says, packing his tools. But I should probably check on it in a few days. Make sure everything's working properly. Is that necessary? Sometimes the best repairs need a little follow-up care. He's looking at me when he says it, and I know we're not just talking about plumbing anymore. After he leaves, I stand in my kitchen with its properly functioning sink, holding the business card he gave me. Marcus Rivera, Reliable Repairs. There's a phone number and an email address, but what I notice most is the small logo in the corner, a camera aperture integrated into a wrench. Someone who fixes things and captures beauty. Someone who sees stories in abandoned places. I'm still holding the card when David comes home. The follow-up visit happens 3 days later, on a Thursday when David's in Denver and Emma's at debate practice. I tell myself the timing is coincidental, but I know better. I've been unconsciously orchestrating this moment since Marcus left his card on my counter. This time, he brings better coffee, the expensive kind from the cafe downtown that I've walked past 100 times but never entered. I remembered you saying you like trying new things, he says, though I don't remember saying that. Maybe I did. Maybe I'm becoming someone who says things like that. The sink's working perfectly. I tell him, though we both know that's not why he's here. Good. But I wanted to check something else. He pulls out his phone and shows me a photograph, my kitchen window, taken from outside, capturing that same afternoon light I'd noticed during his first visit. But in his image, the light becomes something transcendent. Golden streams highlighting the watercolor set on the counter, the coffee cups from our conversation, the small signs of a life interrupted and resumed. When did you take this? After I left on Tuesday. I couldn't stop thinking about what you said about abandoned stories. This looked like a story that was ready to be told. I stare at the image, seeing my own life transformed into art. It's beautiful. So are you. The words hang between us like a held breath. I should say something, deflect the compliment, make a joke about being a middle-aged suburban mother. Instead, I just look at him looking at me, and for the first time in years, I don't feel invisible. Show me more, I say. We move to the living room, and Marcus opens his portfolio on his phone. His work is extraordinary, not just technically proficient, but emotionally resonant. A series of portraits of people at work, a mechanic's hands, oil-stained and gentle, an elderly woman tending plants, her face luminous with purpose, a child reading in a library, lost in imaginary worlds. You see people, I tell him. Really see them. It's the only way I know how to look at the world. We're sitting on the couch, closer than we should be, and I can smell his cologne, something woody and clean that makes me want to lean closer. When did I stop noticing how men smell? Tell me about your marriage, he says quietly. The question should feel invasive, but it doesn't. It feels like relief. It's like living with a roommate who occasionally asks about your day, but never really listens to the answer. How long? 20 years. We met in college, married young, did everything we were supposed to do. House, careers, child, retirement plans. I laugh, but it comes out hollow. I used to think that was enough. What changed? Everything. Nothing. I woke up one morning and realized I was 42 years old, and I couldn't remember the last time I felt awake. Marcus nods like he understands. I've never been married, but I've watched my parents. They're good people, but they've been sleepwalking through their lives for decades. It terrifies me. What terrifies me is that I might be too late to wake up. You're not too late for anything, Sarah. The way he says my name makes me shiver. I want to believe him, Want to believe that 42 isn't the end of dreaming, that there's still time to become the person I was meant to be. I should paint your portrait, I say suddenly, surprising myself. I'd like that. I haven't painted a person in 15 years. Then I'll be honored to be your first. We talk for 2 hours about art and travel and the books that changed our lives. Marcus tells me about his childhood in Mexico, how his family came to the States when he was 8, how he learned English by watching old movies. I tell him about the summer I spent in art school, the professor who said I had an eye for capturing the essence of things, the way I felt when I finally understood the difference between looking and seeing. When it's time for him to leave, we stand in the doorway together, and the air between us feels charged with possibility. I want to see you again, he says. Not for repairs, just to see you. I should say no. Should remind him that I'm married, that he's younger, that this is complicated in ways that could hurt everyone involved. Instead, I say, I want that too. He leans closer, and for a moment I think he might kiss me. For a moment, I want him to, but he just touches my cheek gently, like I'm something precious that might break. I'll call you, he promises. After he leaves, I sit in my kitchen with the last of the good coffee, looking at the light on the wall. For the first time in years, I see the possibility of a different story. One where I'm not just a supporting character in someone else's life, but the protagonist of my own. The thought terrifies and exhilarates me in equal measure. Marcus calls on Saturday morning while David is playing golf and Emma is at her friend's house. I'm alone in the kitchen, trying to work up the courage to open the watercolor set, when his name appears on my phone. I can't stop thinking about you, he says without preamble. The honesty in his voice catches me off guard. Marcus, I know this is complicated. I know you're married, but I can't pretend this isn't happening. Neither can I. For 3 days, I've been moving through my routines like an actress playing a role I've outgrown. Making dinner, asking about David's day, helping Emma with college applications, all while feeling like I'm watching my life from outside myself. I keep thinking about what you said. I tell him about stories that get abandoned. I'm 42 years old, and I feel like I abandoned my own story before it really began. It's not too late to pick it up again, isn't it? I have responsibilities. A family. I can't just what? Can't just be happy? Can't just want something for yourself. The questions hit me like a physical blow. When did wanting something for myself become an act of rebellion? I'd like to show you something, Marcus says, if you're willing. An hour later, I'm sitting in his truck, feeling like a teenager sneaking out of the house. I left a note for David about running errands, but the lie sits heavy in my stomach. I've never been good at deception. Marcus drives to the old warehouse district, an area I've driven through but never really explored. He parks in front of a building that's been converted into artist studios, and I follow him up 3 flights of stairs to a space that takes my breath away. The studio is small but perfectly organized. Photography equipment lines one wall, while the other holds his work. Dozens of prints showcasing his talent for finding beauty in unexpected places. But what draws my attention is the easel in the corner, set up with a blank canvas and a full set of oil paints. I don't understand, I say. I bought them for you. Well, for us. I thought maybe if you wanted to paint and I wanted to photograph you painting. He looks uncertain for the first time since I've known him. It's presumptuous, I know, but I couldn't stop thinking about you saying you'd lost your way back to art. I walk to the easel, running my fingers along the smooth wooden edge. The paints are professional quality, the brushes soft and perfectly balanced. No one has ever bought me art supplies before, Not David, not my parents, not even myself, really. I've always made do with cheap materials, telling myself I wasn't good enough to justify the expense. Why? I whisper. Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. Because you light up when you talk about painting in a way that breaks my heart. Because I want to see what you create when you stop holding yourself back. Tears start before I can stop them. Not the pretty, delicate tears of movies, but the raw, messy tears of someone who's been holding back too much for too long. I'm scared, I admit. Of what? Of being terrible. Of proving that I was right to give up. Of wanting this too much. Marcus steps closer, close enough that I can feel the warmth of his body. What if you're brilliant? What if you create something beautiful? What if you've been denying the world your art for 20 years? What if I have been? Then today's the day you stop. He helps me set up, showing me how to prepare the canvas, how to arrange the paints. His hands cover mine as he demonstrates brush techniques, and I find myself focusing more on the points where we touch than on his instruction. Paint what you see, he says, positioning himself across the room. Not what you think you should see, what you actually see. I look at him, really look, and what I see is someone who believes in me more than I believe in myself. Someone who sees possibility where I see limitation. Someone who makes me remember that I used to be brave. I start with his eyes, those dark brown eyes that seem to hold galaxies. My hand moves tentatively at first, then with growing confidence as muscle memory returns. I'd forgotten the particular satisfaction of mixing colors, of watching shapes emerge from nothing, of creating something that didn't exist moments before. Tell me about your marriage, Marcus says as I work. What do you want to know? When did you realize you were unhappy? The question makes me pause, brush suspended midair. I don't think I realized it all at once. It was gradual, like falling asleep. One day I woke up and realized I'd been unconscious for years. What would it take to wake up? I don't know. I thought I knew what I wanted when I was younger. Art school, maybe graduate school, a life where I created things that mattered. But then I met David, and he was safe and stable, and everything my parents wanted for me. What did you want for yourself? I wanted to be brave. I wanted to create something beautiful and meaningful. I wanted to matter. You do matter.
Don't eat.
I feel like I'm just existing, taking up space, going through the motions.
You matter to me.
The words hit me like a physical force. I set down my brush and look at him, this man who's known me for a week and sees me more clearly than my husband has in years. Marcus, I know this is impossible. I know you're married and I'm younger, and this is crazy. But I haven't felt this way about anyone before. Not ever. The confession hangs between us like a bridge neither of us is sure we should cross. I haven't either, I whisper. Felt this way, not even with David. Not even when we were young. What does that mean? I don't know. But I do know. I know that for the first time in my adult life, I'm awake. I know that Marcus has reminded me of who I used to be and shown me who I might become. I know that I'm standing at a crossroads, and whatever choice I make will change everything. The painting on the easel shows a man looking directly at the viewer with eyes full of possibility. It's the best work I've done in 20 years. It's also the most dangerous thing I've ever created. I don't sleep that night. I lie next to David, listening to his steady breathing, staring at the ceiling and replaying every moment of the afternoon. The weight of the brush in my hand. The way Marcus looked at me like I was something rare and precious. The painting I left unfinished on the easel. waiting for me to decide whether to complete it or walk away. By morning, I've made my choice. I text Marcus while David showers. Asterisk, can we meet for coffee? I need to talk to you. Asterisk, his response comes immediately. Asterisk, of course. The cafe on 5th Street? 10 o'clock. Asterisk, I arrive first, choosing a table in the back corner where we're less likely to be seen. Not that I'm doing anything wrong, I tell myself. Just two friends having coffee. The lie feels thin even in my own mind. Marcus walks in at exactly 10, and I watch him scan the room until he finds me. The smile that crosses his face when our eyes meet is worth whatever comes next. You look like you didn't sleep, he says, sliding into the chair across from me. I didn't. Because of yesterday? Because of everything. He orders coffee for both of us, black for me, with cream for him, and I'm touched that he remembers. David still asks how I take my coffee after 20 years of marriage. I've been thinking. I say once we're alone again.
About what you said.
About my marriage, about what I want, about this. And I can't stop thinking about you. I know I should. I know this is wrong in about a dozen different ways. But I can't pretend I don't feel something I've never felt before. Marcus reaches across the table and takes my hand. The contact sends electricity at my arm, and I don't pull away. I've been thinking too, he says, about whether I'm being selfish, whether I'm trying to steal someone else's wife. I don't think you can steal someone who's already lost. The words surprise me with their honesty, but they're true. I've been lost for years, drifting through my life without direction or purpose. Marcus hasn't stolen me. He's helped me find myself. What does that mean, Sarah? For us, I mean, I don't know. I wish I could be one of those women who just walks away from everything, who burns her life down and starts over. But I have a daughter and responsibilities, and I'm not sure I'm brave enough to. I'm not asking you to burn anything down. I'm just asking you to be honest about what you want. What I want is to finish that painting. What I want is to spend hours talking to you about books and dreams and the way light moves across water. What I want is to feel like myself again. Then let's do that. It's not that simple. Why not? Such a simple question. Why not? Because I'm married to a man who doesn't see me. Because I'm afraid of what people will think. Because I'm afraid of wanting something this much. Because I'm afraid of getting hurt. Because I'm afraid of hurting someone else. Because I'm falling in love with you. I say quietly. The admission sits between us like a lit match. Dangerous and beautiful and capable of starting a fire that could consume everything. I'm falling in love with you too, Marcus says. We can't. We already are. He's right, and we both know it. Whatever line we were trying not to cross, we've already crossed it. The only question now is what we do next. I want to see you again, I say. I want to finish the painting. I want to remember what it feels like to create something beautiful. Okay, but I can't leave my life. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I'm not asking you to. What are you asking for? Marcus considers this, turning his coffee cup in his hands. I'm asking for time, for honesty, for the chance to see where this goes. That's not fair to you. Let me decide what's fair to me. And if it leads nowhere, if I can't leave David, if this just becomes a beautiful mistake that we both regret, then at least we'll have had something real, something that mattered. I think about the painting waiting for me in his studio, about the way my hands felt steady on the brush for the first time in years, about the possibility of creating something meaningful, even if it's temporary. Okay, I say. Okay. but we have to be careful. I can't hurt Emma. I won't put her in the middle of something she didn't choose. Of course. And I need time to figure out what this means. For my marriage, for my future, for everything. We have time. Do we? Marcus leans forward, his eyes serious. Sarah, I'm not going anywhere. I've waited 28 years to feel this way about someone. I can wait a little longer to see what we might become. We sit in comfortable silence, hands still touching across the small table. I know I should pull away, should stand up and walk out and return to my regularly scheduled life. Instead, I turn my palm up and let his fingers intertwine with mine. I want to paint you properly, I say. A real portrait. Something that captures who you are, not just what you look like. I'd like that. It might take several sessions. I have time. We both know we're not just talking about painting anymore. We're talking about stolen afternoons and conversations that run deeper than small talk. We're talking about the possibility of something that could change everything or destroy everything or both. Thursday, I say. 2 o'clock. Thursday. I stand to leave, and Marcus stands too. For a moment, we're close enough that I could step forward and kiss him. The temptation is overwhelming. Instead, I take a step back. See you Thursday, I say. See you Thursday. Walking to my car, I feel like I'm floating 3 inches above the ground. I've made a choice, crossed a line, admitted feelings I've been fighting since the day we met. It's terrifying and exhilarating and completely unlike anything I've ever done before. I'm 42 years old, and for the first time in decades, I'm truly awake. The drive home takes forever and no time at all. I sit in my driveway for 10 minutes before going inside, trying to arrange my face into the expression of a woman who's been running errands, not a woman who's just admitted she's falling in love with someone who isn't her husband. David is in his home office, door closed, voice carrying through the walls as he discusses quarterly projections with someone who probably cares about quarterly projections. I used to find his dedication to work admirable. Now, it just feels like another wall between us. Emma is at the kitchen counter, surrounded by college brochures and application forms. At 17, she's poised on the edge of her own awakening, ready to discover who she is beyond our expectations. Looking at her, I feel a pang of something, envy, regret, for the courage of youth. How's the application process going? I ask, settling beside her. Overwhelming. Everyone keeps asking what I want to major in, but how am I supposed to know? I'm 17. I don't know what I want for dinner, let alone what I want to do with my life. You don't have to know everything right now, I tell her, and I'm not sure if I'm giving advice or receiving it. You just have to know what interests you. What makes you curious? That's the problem. Everything interests me. Art, psychology, environmental science, literature. Dad keeps saying I need to be practical, choose something that guarantees a job. But what if I don't want to be practical? The question hits me like a physical blow. What if I don't want to be practical? What if I want to paint and dream and fall in love with someone who sees me as more than a collection of useful functions? Maybe practical is overrated, I say quietly. Emma looks at me with surprise. Really? You're always telling me to be responsible. Maybe I've been wrong about that. Maybe I've been wrong about a lot of things. We work on applications together for the next hour, and I find myself encouraging her toward the programs that excite her rather than the ones that promise security. When she mentions wanting to study art therapy, I don't discourage her. When she talks about traveling abroad, I help her research international programs. You're different today, she says as we're cleaning up the brochures. Different how? I don't know. More present, I guess. like you're actually here instead of just going through the motions. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm trying to be more present. I like it. David emerges from his office, just as Emma heads upstairs to call her friends. He looks tired, older than his 52 years, and for a moment I feel a pang of guilt for the secret I'm carrying. "How was your day?" he asks, the same question he's asked every day for 20 years. Usually I give him the same answer: fine, busy, normal. Today, I consider telling him the truth. That I spent the morning falling in love with someone else. That I remembered what it feels like to be seen, to be valued, to matter. That I'm not sure I can keep pretending our marriage is enough for me. Instead, I say, I'm thinking about taking an art class. Oh, he looks genuinely surprised. That's great. Good for you. I used to paint, you know, before we got married. I remember.
Do you?
Do you remember what I wanted to do with my life before I became Mrs. David Richardson? The question hangs between us, heavier than I intended. David looks at me with something that might be confusion or might be concern. "Sarah, are you okay? You seem, I don't know, different." There's that word again. Different. Like it's a problem to be solved rather than a person emerging from a long sleep. "I'm fine," I say, because it's easier than the truth. Just thinking about things. What kind of things? The future. What I want to do with the rest of my life. Isn't that what we're doing? The house, my career, Emma's college. We have a plan. We have your plan. The words slip out before I can stop them, and I see David's face change. Hurt, maybe, or anger. I'm not sure I remember the difference anymore. "I thought it was our plan," he says quietly. "When did we decide I would give up art? When did we decide I would be satisfied with being your wife and Emma's mother and nothing else? You never said you weren't satisfied. You never asked." The silence that follows is different from our usual comfortable quiet. This silence has edges, sharp places where 20 years of unspoken resentments have been waiting to surface. "I should have asked," David says finally. "I should have. I guess I assumed you were happy. I assumed I was too. And now I'm awake. Now I know what it feels like to be truly seen. Now I'm falling in love with someone who believes in my dreams more than I believe in them myself. Now I think we need to talk, really talk, about what we both want from this marriage." David nods slowly. "Okay. When?"
Soon.
"After I figure out what I want to say." "Sarah, is there something you're not telling me?" "Yes. Everything. I'm not telling you that I've been sleepwalking through our marriage for years. I'm not telling you that I met someone who makes me remember who I used to be. I'm not telling you that I'm 42 years old and just now figuring out what I want from life. I'm not telling you that I'm not happy," I say instead. "But I'm not telling you that I'm leaving either. I'm just waking up." That night, I lie in bed listening to David's breathing and thinking about the painting waiting for me in Marcus's studio. In 3 days, I'll sit across from him again, brush in hand, trying to capture something true. In 3 days, I'll continue a conversation that could change everything.
I'm terrified. I'm exhilarated.
I'm more alive than I felt in 20 years. For the first time in my marriage, I fall asleep without saying goodnight to my husband. Thursday arrives with the kind of crisp autumn clarity that makes everything look like a photograph. I wake up before my alarm, my body humming with an energy I haven't felt in years. Today, I'm going to paint. Today, I'm going to continue a conversation that could reshape my entire understanding of what I want from life. I take extra care getting dressed, choosing the burgundy sweater that makes my skin look luminous, The jeans that actually fit properly instead of the loose ones I've been hiding in. Looking in the mirror, I see someone I almost recognize, a woman with purpose, with somewhere important to be. Emma notices at breakfast. "You look pretty today, Mom." "Thank you, sweetheart. Are you going somewhere special?" "Just out." David has already left for work, another early meeting with another client. I'm grateful for his absence, for not having to navigate the careful neutrality we've maintained since our conversation 2 nights ago. We've been polite, cautious, like diplomats from countries that aren't quite at war, but aren't quite at peace either. The drive to Marcus's studio feels different today. I'm not sneaking around or lying to myself about what this is. I'm choosing to be here, choosing to explore this connection, choosing to prioritize something that makes me feel alive. Marcus is waiting for me, and the smile that crosses his face when I walk in makes my chest tighten with something between joy and longing. "You came," he says. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I hoped you would. I wasn't sure you'd be ready for this." He gestures toward the easel, where my unfinished painting waits. Seeing it again, I'm struck by how much I captured in those first brushstrokes, not just Marcus's physical features, but something essential about who he is. The way he looks at the world with curiosity and compassion. The way he sees possibility where others see problems. I've been thinking about it for days, I admit. About finishing it. About what it means to finish it. What does it mean? I pick up the brush, feeling its familiar weight. It means I'm choosing to create something, even if I don't know where it leads. It means I'm choosing to be the person who paints instead of the person who used to paint. And what else? The question hangs between us, loaded with meaning. We both know this isn't just about art anymore. It means I'm choosing you, I say quietly, whatever that looks like, however complicated it gets. Marcus moves closer, close enough that I can feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Sarah, I know it's messy. I know I can't promise you a future or even tell you what next week looks like. But I can promise you this moment, this afternoon, this painting. That's enough. Is it? For now." I position myself at the easel and study the canvas, then look at Marcus as he settles into the chair across from me. The light in the studio is perfect. Golden afternoon sun streaming through the tall windows, illuminating his face in a way that makes me want to capture not just his features, but the way he makes me feel when he looks at me. "Tell me about your dreams," I say as I begin to work on the shadows around his eyes. "The ones you've never told anyone." "I want to document disappearing places," he says. "Not just abandoned buildings, but whole ways of life that are vanishing. I want to travel to small towns where the main street is dying, to neighborhoods where gentrification is erasing history, to places where people are fighting to preserve something meaningful." That sounds like important work. It feels important, but it's also selfish. I want to see the world, to understand how other people live and love and create meaning in their lives. I add warmth to the color of the skin, mixing burnt sienna with cadmium yellow. What's selfish about wanting to understand? Maybe selfish isn't the right word. Maybe it's just ambitious in a way that scares my family. They want me to be practical, to take over my uncle's business, to stay close to home, and build the kind of life they understand. What do you want? I want to matter. I want to create something that lasts, that helps people see the world differently. The honesty in his voice makes me pause. That's exactly what I wanted when I was your age. Before I convinced myself that wanting things was impractical. What changed? I met David. He was safe and stable, and everything my parents wanted for me. I thought that was enough. I thought I could be happy with enough. And now I know the difference between enough and everything. We work in comfortable silence for a while. The only sounds the whisper of brush against canvas and the distant hum of traffic. I lose myself in the process of creating, in the particular satisfaction of mixing colors and building form from nothing. This is what I've been missing. This flow state where time disappears and nothing exists except the work. You're different when you paint, Marcus observes. Different how? More yourself. Like you shed some weight I didn't even know you were carrying.
He's right.
I can feel it happening, the gradual release of tension I've carried for years. The constant awareness of what I should be doing, should be thinking, should be feeling, it all falls away when I'm focused on the canvas. I used to paint every day, I tell him. In college, in art school before I dropped out. I painted the way other people breathe, automatically, necessarily. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I picked up a brush again. Why did you stop? Life happened. Marriage, pregnancy, responsibilities. And David. He never said I couldn't paint, but he never asked about it either. Never asked to see my work, never encouraged me to keep going. After a while, it felt selfish to spend time on something that didn't contribute to our family's practical needs. Art always contributes, even when no one recognizes it. I'm starting to believe that. As the afternoon progresses, the painting evolves from a simple portrait into something more complex. I find myself layering in symbols. Books stacked beside Marcus's chair, representing our conversations about literature. A camera lens reflecting light, showing his artistic vision, his hands positioned as if he's holding something precious, but invisible, the way he holds my dreams. What are you thinking about? Marcus asks during a quiet moment, about what happens next, about whether I'm brave enough to keep choosing this.
You. Art.
The person I'm becoming when I'm here. And are you brave enough? I step back from the easel, studying what I've created. The painting is nearly finished, and it's the best work I've done in 20 years. Looking at it, I see not just Marcus, but my own transformation. The way I've moved from tentative brushstrokes to confident ones, from copying what I see to interpreting what I feel. I'm brave enough to finish this painting, I say.
I'm bra.
Be enough to sign up for that art class I mentioned. I'm brave enough to start having difficult conversations with David about what our marriage could become. And what about us? I'm brave enough to see where this goes. One painting at a time. One conversation at a time. One choice at a time. Marcus stands and walks to the easel, studying my work. It's extraordinary, Sarah. You've captured something I didn't even know was visible. What's that? Hope. I look hopeful in this painting. Like I believe good things are possible. Good things are possible. Are they possible for us? I set down my brush and really look at him, this man who's helped me remember who I am, who I could be. I don't know what our future looks like. I can't promise you it will be easy or straightforward or anything like what either of us planned. But yes, good things are possible for us. Maybe not the traditional things, maybe not the simple things, but good things. He moves closer, and this time I don't step back. When he cups my face in his hands, I lean into the touch. I love you, he says simply. I love you too. The words feel like jumping off a cliff, terrifying and liberating simultaneously. I'm 42 years old, standing in an artist's studio with paint on my hands and love in my heart. And for the first time in decades, I feel like myself. We don't kiss. We don't need to. The painting between us says everything that needs to be said about connection and possibility and the courage it takes to create something beautiful in a complicated world. I should go. I say eventually. I know, but I'll be back next week to start a new painting. What will you paint next? I look around the studio, at the light streaming through the windows, at the evidence of Marcus's artistic vision, at the woman reflected in the mirror who looks like me but braver. I think I'll paint myself, I say, a self-portrait. It's time I figured out who I am when I'm not defined by who I am to other people. I'd like to see that. So would I. Walking to my car, I feel the weight of change settling around me like a new coat. I've crossed a line today, made choices that will ripple through every aspect of my life. I've fallen in love, rediscovered my art, and remembered what it feels like to be fully awake. Tomorrow, I'll have difficult conversations. I'll research art classes and figure out how to rearrange my life to include the things that matter to me. I'll begin the slow, complicated work of becoming who I'm meant to be. But today, I painted. Today, I chose love over fear. Today, I remembered that it's never too late to become the protagonist of your own story. 3 months later, I'm standing in front of an easel in a sun-filled studio space I've rented for myself. The self-portrait I'm working on shows a woman with paint-stained fingers and eyes full of possibility. On the wall behind me hang a dozen paintings, landscapes and portraits and abstract pieces that pour straight from my heart onto the canvas. David and I are in counseling, working to rebuild our marriage on more honest ground. It's not easy, but it's real in a way we haven't been in years. Emma is thriving at college, studying art therapy and sending me pictures of her own creative work. And Marcus? Marcus is preparing for his trip to Europe, armed with a camera and a grant I helped him apply for. We see each other weekly, sometimes to work on art together, sometimes just to talk. Our relationship has evolved into something I couldn't have imagined. Deeper than friendship, more sustainable than the passionate affair it might have become. I'm painting the sunrise outside my studio window when my phone buzzes with a text from a woman I don't recognize. I saw your painting at the coffee shop exhibition. It made me cry. I haven't picked up a paintbrush in 15 years, but looking at your work made me remember what I used to love. Thank you for the reminder that it's never too late to start again. Reading her message, I understand something I didn't expect. By choosing to save myself, I might have helped save someone else too. By refusing to abandon my own story, I've given another woman permission to pick up hers. I respond. It's never too late. Pick up that brush. The world needs your art. Then I turn back to my painting, to the work of capturing light and shadow, and the infinite possibility of a new day. What would you have done in her situation? Have you ever felt drawn towards something unexpected? Something that challenged everything you thought you knew about yourself and what you wanted from life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, there are more like it waiting. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss these thoughtful stories about the complexity of being a woman in today's world. Because sometimes the stories we're hesitant to share are the ones that matter most.